Welcome to Samarkand. Over here is an area called Registan. I think probably I'll visit that towards the end of my stay here. It's the most famous destination in Uzbekistan. And then here, there's a statue of a guy called Islam Karimov. Islam Karimov was the president of Uzbekistan from the revolution in 1989 until I think 2016. There's some birds that I don't know why. You see this in a lot of the parks, you just see random birds. I think people are selling them, but I don't know who's selling these. So Samarkand is famous because it's one of the most important cities, or it was one of the most important cities on the Silk Road. So between China and Europe, this would have been one of the key cities. The traders would have passed through. This morning I'm in a mosque, and I'll put the name up on the screen because I forget the name. And as you can see, it's quite a large complex. But this keeps happening and I don't know why. Like the selfie crew. Normally boys, today it was like 4 or 5 different boys and then some men who want selfies. And I don't really know why, but it's quite funny. Look, this picture, I think this is how they found the mosque many years ago. And so if you look at the ruins it was in compared to what it is now, I think they've done good work. So this mosque was built 600 years ago by Timur. And you know Timur liked to build things big. So he kind of pushed the limits of how big you can build mosques. So a few years after it was constructed, it started falling apart because it's just too big. And they didn't have the techniques at the time to build things like this. Or to build them to last at least. Across the street from the mosque is a market, Siyob Market. I wonder what they sell. Apparently they sell wolf skins, but that's not something I'm really interested in. Apricots are a big thing here. Every morning for breakfast, I've always been served, 3 different places I've been served like honeyed apricots in sugar water, or apricots in honey, or something like that. Ooh, a hat store. I love a good hat. I think a lot of these hats look a bit more mature, like something someone older would wear, like that. So I'm gonna stick with my hat, a bit more youthful. There's some different color bread that I saw. Let's see. Apparently this bread lasts for a long time. Like you can keep it for a long time. So maybe I have to buy 1 or 2 to take back. It's quite a big market. I think people just come here for their day-to-day shopping.
spices.
Пожалуйста, специи, брат. Горный чай. Брат.
On one side they've got the colorful spices. It's quite cool looking. And here is the grains, like different kinds of beans, and millet and rice, chickpeas, lentils, pasta. Continues outside. I'm not sure how I feel about the open air bread selling. Like, doesn't it get dusty? It's very busy on a Sunday. There's like a series of mausoleums on the way in. And I'll show you on the way out. But there's lots of people here. So if you come, maybe don't make it Sunday at noon. I'm on my way to a tomb complex. Somewhere over there. Maybe it's that one, I'm not sure. And I discovered this mural. I don't know if it's Soviet or not, it could be. And I'm gonna guess there's a phoenix. There's 3 Uzbek women. One of them is playing a traditional instrument. I'm guessing a mother and child. And then perhaps the crops that they produced here. I think these ones here, this one and this one might be cotton, because Uzbek is like Uzbekistan is a big cotton producing region. Was, still is. So that would have been an important thing that they produced for the Soviet Union and for the country now. Come to the tomb of Timur. And this is the real tomb. It's not like the other place in Shahrazab's where they found like someone else's body was at the tomb. Here he's buried under a big block of jade, and some of his other family members, sons, grandsons, 1 or 2 of his teachers. Places to sit. Places to sit, so you can kind of look up. This morning I'm here at the, what's it called? The Samarkand State Museum. Let me walk out a bit so you can see. This museum's a bit odd. When you arrive at the ticket office, there's no one. And then when you walk inside, like, this lady hurries up and she goes to the ticket office to sell you the ticket. And then you go inside and it's basically empty. It's really strange. So they have different exhibitions showing art, some pottery, some traditional clothing, stuff like that. It's interesting to see, but like half of it's only in Russian or in Uzbek, so it's not easy for a tourist like me to understand everything that they have on display here. But anyway, yeah, it's quite strange. Like, for a place like Samarkand, which is like, I would imagine the #1 tourist destination is in Uzbekistan, it's quite odd that they would have such a quiet museum. But anyway, if you want to learn a bit more about the history of Uzbekistan, this might be the place to come. I'm here at a place called Ishrat Khana, and I think this is quite an interesting place because this was a mausoleum, but it's a mausoleum that's been left to, how should I say this nicely? Been left in ruins. And from what I could find online, this is not one of those newer buildings. This is also something that was built around the time of Timur. But it was abandoned and remains abandoned to this day. And if you look, well, you can see some of the where some of the tiling would have been. I guess all of this would have been covered in blue tiles, but now most of that's fallen off. Most of that's fallen off now. But I think they are doing some work. This looks a bit new. And there's some guys around the back doing something. But you can see there's nobody here. Which makes it very different from the other sites that I've seen in Samarkand. Not many people come to this place. I asked the guy, can you go up? And he kind of just shrugged his shoulders. So I guess that means maybe. Oh yeah, that's not for me. I can get up, but I might fall down. Might have to climb up. I'm not gonna do that. I mean, this place is being held up with iron bars. So it's not exactly structurally stable, you know. Bakmat. Huh? No Roski. So in another video, I think I told you about the mulberry trees. You see them all over Uzbekistan, and I guess it has something to do with silk production because silkworms eat mulberry, I think. But it means that, and you see people doing this, people can just pick the fruit from the trees and eat it. Let me see if I can find one. You want the ones like this, the very light colored. That's a bit, something like this. They're very soft and they're very sweet. And there's just tons of them on the tree. So if you ever feel like you need like a sugar boost, you can just pick some. Pick some mulberries while you're waiting for your taxi. Oh, by the way, across the street there's a newer mausoleum or mosque. I'm not sure how related it is to this one, but there's a big new one here. Which is not so interesting, I think. This might be my taxi. Let me see. On the way here there was a park, and I saw in the park there was like a Chinese gate and a statue of some old Chinese man. It looks like it might be Confucius or something. So I'm going back to take a look at that, because it's a bit odd that there'd be a Chinese park in the middle of Uzbekistan. So I'm in the park that I saw from the taxi. It's a long, very long, kind of like a narrow park. And I think this place is called University Boulevard. Because on both sides of the street there's what look like universities. And the taxi app, that's what it said, University Boulevard. I was looking for the Chinese statue, but I only found this, which I guess is supposed to be like a Japanese gate or something. I don't know, maybe the Chinese statue is a bit further up. Found it. It's across the road there. It's not in the park. And there's some building behind it. This big building here. I suspect it might be a hospital. Might be a Chinese medicine hospital. Something like that. But yeah. Very Chinese looking. Let's see who this guy is at the end. Ru. This is the character for Confucian things. Lian, Yong, Xiao, Zhong. These are different like Confucian virtues. So on the floor here, these different characters, they represent different Confucian virtues. So I'm gonna guess that this is Confucius. Let's see. They have a nice little plaque. Not in English. Not in English. So, yeah, but it is Confucius. Well, you can see the Uzbek Konfutsi and Konfuts. I can't pronounce that. How weird. And there's a mural. Back says Confucian culture, but I wonder what this building is, because I can see some Chinese elements on the building, and it looks a bit, to me it looks a bit like the kind of hospital they use in China, but I don't know if it is. Let's see. Oh no. Center of International Educational Programs. Campus France. A French campus in a building with Chinese design. That's really strange. I don't get it. Why would you have such a thing? Let me walk around the back, see if this is really bizarre. So it makes sense there's a university because we're on University Boulevard, but I don't know why you would have this massive park. There's not really much here. I don't know why you build this massive park to Confucian virtues and have this giant building with traditional Chinese style roofing and an entryway, and say actually no, this has nothing to do with China. This is where you learn French. Oh, okay, that's weird. I'm gonna go and check out the other place, the church. I walked over to the church, which is not far from the Chinese garden that I was at just a second ago. I think this church is called San Alexei, or Alexei, or something like that. It's the last church to be built in Samarkand before the revolution, so 1912. And it sticks out to me. It's unusual because in Samarkand mostly what you see is mosques. So as soon as you see a church like this, I guess you call it a Russian Orthodox church, it's quite different. I was waiting for my taxi and this dog came to say hello. Now he's run away. I think he's upset by the fact that I didn't give him food. Now in Samarkand and in Uzbekistan, I think Uzbekistan is quite rich in natural resources and natural gas in particular. And so the winters can get quite cold here. Summer's quite hot. But these yellow pipes that you see, I think these are used to transport natural gas across the city. That's why they paint them yellow, because I've seen that in other countries. If you take a taxi here, you open the boot of the car, the trunk of the car, you'll find inside normally there's a natural gas canister. So even the cars here, they're quite reliant on natural gas, because I think, if I was reading the prices right, the prices for petrol are not that cheap. They're not what you'd expect. They might not be the same as some European countries, but it's quite pricey. So I think natural gas is what people choose to use. And up ahead again, you have to play this game. Is it an ancient ruin, or is it a house being torn down? Well, I wonder what. That might lead into someone's house. Someone's garden, I think. But you just see, sometimes you see these things. Just littered about. This shop is like an Aladdin's cave of Soviet things. Try something on. Navy hat, maybe? They're always a bit too small for me. What else can I try? These all seem like ladies' hats. These are men's hats, but they're a bit, again, small, you know? Maybe this one looks big.
Well, sit down.
Small.
No.
So I'm not far from Bibi-Khanym, the mosque, maybe 500 meters. And behind this wall is a synagogue, and it's the only synagogue in Samarkand. There's only 20 or 30 Jews left.
Yeah, New York, Samarkand, Canada, New York. Picture, a short picture.
Bukharian Jews of the USA. Jews from Bukhara in the USA?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No shoes?
Eighteen from Poland.
From Poland, Talmud.
Talmud Bavli. From Poland, Ashkenazi.
Ashkenazi Jews, okay,
Yeah.
no, Ashkenazi.
Yeah.
1980. Bilnya. Welcome to the center of Samarkand. This is called Registan. It's probably the most famous landmark in Uzbekistan, in all of Uzbekistan. And just now, the lady was telling me this building is the oldest. They built this in the 15th century, and it was built by the grandson of Timur, the famous Timur, that had this huge empire. And these other two buildings, this one here and this one here, these came later, about 200 years later. Now, there's one interesting thing when you look at the top of the building, is you have two tigers, and there's some gazelle at the top too. You can see the gazelle. Now in Islam, usually you're not allowed to depict animals. So this is a bit unusual. So of the three madrasas that you see, this one and this one, they have mosques inside. The one with tigers and gazelles on the top, they were not allowed to build a mosque inside because you can't pray in a place where they depict animals and buildings. So that's a little introduction to these buildings, and there's a cool thing to know. Let me zoom. So you will see the tiger chasing a gazelle, and the gazelle is knowledge. The tiger is the student chasing knowledge, and then the sun is the teacher, illuminating light on this knowledge and on the student. So all of these things have So all of these things mean something. It's not just pretty pictures. And if you see, if I can find some, I'll show you some pictures. I'll put some pictures up of what this looked like at the beginning of the 20th century. Because these places, like many places in Uzbekistan and many places in Samarkand, they were basically in ruins. They've been destroyed by time, by war. And during the Soviet period, they were restored. Some restoration work was done at these places to bring them up to what they are today. So just show you around some of these. It's the oldest one. You walk into the first madrasa, and there's a courtyard in the middle with there would have been a mosque there before. It's not a mosque now, they've turned it into a museum. And the rooms on the first floor, were bathrooms. 2 or 3 students to a classroom. And then on the top they'd have dormitories. That's where they sleep. So you have class on floor 1 and you sleep on floor 2. And this was a mosque until quite recently. Now it's a museum. Of the square, there's a headstone, a tombstone. And I don't know how true this is, but apparently this is the tombstone of a butcher. He's the patron saint of Uzbek butchers. Because he would supply the students and teachers here with meat. So they decided to give him this place in the middle of the square. This is his final resting place. There's only one remaining mosque here. The other two, well, one of them was converted into a museum, and the other one they couldn't build a mosque because there's pictures of animals in the building. So this is the last remaining mosque. And it's interesting, when you go inside, you see there's a dome on the outside, but when you go inside, you look up and it looks like there's a dome, but there's not. It's flat. It's an optical illusion. I'll show you. One thing I didn't know before I came here. In a lot of these places, you find these doors. They're doors for small people. Is what you might think. Well, you might think people were smaller back then. They were shorter back then. But it's because you have to bow when you enter this place as a sign of respect. So if you have a door like this, you can't walk in. You can't walk in like this. So you have to walk in, but you have to bow. You're forced to bow when you go through the door. So that's why the doors are small. It's as a mark of respect. Well, that's it, I think, for Samarkand. But there's one more thing. The other day when I first arrived here like in the evening, and I didn't come inside because I wanted to experience the place not in the evening. And 7 or 8 o'clock at night, I forget the exact time, they have a light show, a laser show, which I think maybe I have video of. If I do, I'll put up on the screen. And it's interesting because this is about the history of Samarkand on the Silk Road, but the whole show is in Chinese, like all of it. Most of the audience watching, they watch from over there. They don't speak Chinese. And I asked the guide today, she said, oh yes, sometimes they pay for that. So every now and again, I assume, maybe not every day, the Chinese will host a light show here, talking about the history of the Silk Road, but in Chinese. And it's a good light show, but it's a bit weird that it's not in Russian or English, because there are not that many Chinese-speaking people here. Yeah, apparently it costs $2,000 a time, so they don't do it every night. They're probably good if they wanted though. Anyway, that's it for Samarkand. See you in Tashkent.